My name is Sharanesh, guest lecturer of Government First Grade College Kurgot. Today I would like to Today I would like to teach BCom third semester corporate accounting subject, chapter number second under amal chapter number second. Chapter name is amalgamation under in the nature of journal entries, in the nature of merger journal entries already completed, in the nature of purchase under closing closing journal entries of a transferor company and opening journal entries of a transferee company, while we have to preparing balance sheet of a amalgamation companies. First we know about while we have to preparing amalgamation balance sheet. Before 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 that, we know about journal entries of a vendor's company or closing books of the transferee company or accounting entries in the books of transferor company. Closing books of the transferor company or accounting entries in the books of transferor company. Let us we see vendor company has to close up its business. It will dispose of all assets and make a payment of all assets and liabilities, distribute if surplus among its shareholders. For closing books of vendor company, the following accounts are to be opened. It is books: realization account, purchasing company account, transferring company shareholders account, equity shareholders account, and preference shareholders account, debenture holders account. For preparing the above accounts, various journal entries to be passed. Closing journal entries for transfer of assets, realization account debtor to each asset account at book value, being transfer those assets taken over to a realization account at book values, except cash at bank balance. Note: cash and bank balances will not be transferred. Next, for fictitious assets, equity shareholders account, to preliminary expenses account credit, to discount on issue of shares and debentures, to commission on expenses on issue of shares and debentures, to profit and loss account debit balance, to underwriting commission, being transfer of fictitious asset to shareholders account but not a realization account. Third one, for transfer of liabilities, each liability account at book value account debtor to realization account, being transfer of those liabilities taken over to realization at book value. Note: items representing shareholders funds do not constitute liabilities and are not to be transferred to realization account. Fourth, for accumulated profit and reserves, general reserve account debtor to profit prior to incorporation account debtor to profit and loss account credit balance account debtor to dividend equalization reserve account debtor, security premium account debtor, sinking fund account debtor, capital reserve account debtor to equity shareholders account credit, being accumulated profit and reserves transferred to equity shareholders account, bracket close, if he has not been taken over by the purchasing company because it is already a realized amount. First one, fictitious assets are not transferred to realization account. Second one, cash and bank balance transferred to cash account. Fifth one, journal entry for purchase consideration due. Purchases company account data to realization account being purchase price due. Sixth one, for receipt of a purchase consideration from transferee company, if a purchasing company, bank account debtor, debenture in purchasing company account debtor, shares in purchasing company account debtor to purchasing company account being purchase price received in the form of shares, debentures and cash. Seventh one, for transfer of equity share capital account debtor to shareholders account being transfer of equity share capital. For payment of liabilities by vendor company not taken over by the purchasing company, liabilities account debtor to bank or cash account debtor to shares in purchase company account. Narration, being liabilities not taken over by purchasing company will be paid the vendor company. Note, profit or loss on payment of such liability will be transferred to general realization account. If a profit, liabilities account debtor to realization account being a profit, if less payment is made, credited to realization account. B, if loss, realization account debtor to liabilities being a loss, if expenses payment is made being a loss, debited to realization account. Ninth one, for assets sold by the transferor company not taken over by the transferee company, bank account debtor to assets account being sale of assets not taken or the purchasing company. Note, profit or loss on sale of assets transferred to realization account. If profit, assets account debtor to realization account. Narration, being profit on sale of asset transferred to realization account. If loss, realization account debtor to assets account. Narration, being loss on sale of assets debited to realization account. 10th one, for liquidation expenses, A, if the liquidation expenses are to be met by the transferor company, realization account debtor to cash or bank account being realization expenses paid by the vendor company. If B, if expenses are to be borne by the transferee company. Note, no entry is to be passed in the books of transferor company. C, if expenses is to be borne by transferee company are now paid by the transferor company, then reimburse. On payment of first one, on payment of liquidation expenses, transferor company account debtor to bank account. Second one, on reimbursement from purchasing company, bank account debtor to transferee company or purchasing company account credit. Note, it means that the amount is first paid by transferor company and then it is reimbursed by transferee company. D, if liquidation expenses are included in the purchase consideration and not paid separately by the purchasing company, realization account debtor to bank account being expenses paid. For closing of realization account, if take A, first one, if profit on realization account debtor to equity shareholders account. Narration, being realization profit transferred to equity shareholders. Next, 12th one, for transferring of preference shares capital, preference share capital account debtor to preference shareholders account. For arrears of dividend, realization account debtor to preference shareholders account being arrears of dividend. 14th one, for less payment to preference shareholders account debtor to realization account being a payment to preference shareholders. Next, 15th one, For final settlement equity shareholders account debtor, to shares account debtor credit, to debenture account credit, to bank account. 16th, for payment made to preference shareholders account debtor, to preference shares in purchasing company account, to debentures in transferee company. This is all about what we explain all about entries, that is related to closing journal entries in the books of transferor company. Now, incorporating entries in the books of transferee company or accounting entries in the books of the transferee company. Accounting in the books of purchasing company is to be maintained as per accounting standard 14th. As per accounting standard 14, there are two methods of accounting for the amalgamation in the books of transferee company. First one, the pooling interest method, we have to already seen last video. And second one, now we have to start at second one, the purchase method. Under purchase method, this method of accounting is applicable for amalgamation in the nature of purchase. The following factors should be considered while accounting entries in this method. First one, the assets and liabilities of a transferor company should be incorporated at their existing amount, or alternatively, the consideration should be allocated to individual identifiable assets and liabilities on the basis of their fair value at the date of amalgamation. Second one, the reserves of the transferor company other than statutory reserve should not be included in the financial statements of the transferor company. Third one, an excess of the amount of the purchase consideration over net assets of the transferor company should be acquired by the transferor company should be treated as goodwill and debited to goodwill account. And on the other hand, if the purchase consideration is lower than the value of net assets acquired, the difference should be credited to capital reserve. If it becomes necessary to carry forward any statutory reserve of the transferor company in the books of the transferee company for legal compliance, it is accounting by debiting amalgamation adjustment account and crediting statutory reserve account. Now let us start journal entries of the incorporating entries. The following incorporating entries are to be passed in the books of transferee company. First one, for purchase consideration payable, business purchase account debtor to liquidator of the transferor company, narration being purchase consideration due. Second one, for taking over assets and liability, assets account debtor at agreed value or otherwise book value. Goodwill account debtor, if any difference, to various liabilities account at agreed value. To business purchase price. To capital reserve if difference, if any. Being incorporation of the assets and liabilities. Make it note here. First one, if credit is more than the debit side, the difference is debit to goodwill account. If debit is more than credit side, the difference is credited to capital reserve account. Next, third one, for making payment to the liquidator of the vendor company If settlement of purchase consideration, liquidator of a transferor company account debtor, purchase price, discount on issue of shares account debtor, discount on shares, discount on issue of debentures account debtor, discount on debentures, to share capital account credit face value, to security premium account credit premium amount, to debenture account face value credit, so face value, to bank account credit cash paid if any, being purchase price paid. Fourth one, for payment of liquidation expenses by the transferee company, goodwill or capital reserve account debtor to bank or cash account credit, being expenses paid by the purchasing company. For formation expenses incurred by transferee company, preliminary expenses account debtor to bank account, being expenses paid. When the statutory reserve account is maintained, amalgamation account debtor to statutory reserve account, being transfer, being statutory reserve is maintained. Note, first one, make it note. First one, amalgamation adjustment account will be shown under the head miscellaneous expenditure account in the balance sheet of transferee company, and statutory reserves will appear under the hand reserves and surplus when the statutory reserves are no more required. In such case, cancellation entry is. Seventh one, statutory reserve account debtor to amalgamation adjustment account. Eighth one, when goodwill is written off against capital reserve account debtor to goodwill, being goodwill written off. Ninth one, if any liabilities is discharged by the transferee company, liabilities account debtor to share capital account, being liabilities are discharged. These are all above journal entries, opening entries, closing entries of the transferor company, and opening entries of the transferee company. So this is the in the nature of purchase accounting entries. Thank you.